Okay, so either one of the teams can go first. I'll leave it up to y'all who wants to demo their portion.
Are we demoing the code or the live link or both?
I think the code.
You can demo both to show what it produced and how you got there.
Let me see.
Do you have it, Alejandro, or do you want me to look it up?
I've got our code pulled up
Okay.
in my VS Code if you want.
Okay.
I was about to ask you, Amy, but I have it also.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Does that work?
Perfect.
So we switched from normal anchor tag links to React Router's navlink component. So we imported it up at the top and then swapped it over here. And what that does is give us some nice auto added classes. So it becomes a link, but it also adds an active class whenever the link is the one that matches what the browser has. So when you go to the live site and you click on the links, the styling will change, like if you're on the home page versus the other two.
Perfect. You guys did great on that.
Thanks.
Can you show the site deployed with the links working?
Yeah, give me a second to swap screens.
Yeah, sure.
So this is the live version. And when you switch to the different pages, that styling gets applied. Because the nav link is adding an active class whenever it matches for us.
And that active class was set up already in the CSS file.
Yeah, that was in the layout CSS that already existed.
Okay, awesome. And Amy and Alejandro, are you guys ready to demo yours?
Would you like me to do it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm having a screen sharing issue. Zoom is not compatible with my operating system. I need to figure something out. So sorry, Amy, I'm gonna have to leave this to you.
Okay, one sec.
I just did an upgrade to my distro. I think it broke Zoom.
While she's getting that pulled up, are we going to do a learning module on how to do presentations?
We're going to be doing a code review learning module today. I think one of the presentations is how to demo, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, cool.
We don't have a demo presentation, but we do have one like on communication that I believe we'll be doing later in the sync. I know this week also is really simple But I think it was mostly just to familiarize everyone with the code base and the process and things like that. And I like to hear about that too, how the process went for everyone after this demo.
Okay, so if everybody's ready, we had like a super simple one. We had to just display the list items from what had been entered already. So Alejandro wrote this. I had sent him like my little version of it, but he had already done this. So he did a great job on it. And it just maps through and then returns the item name, and it has the key that React needs to be able to process lists well. And if anybody has a better explanation of keys, that's cool.
Are you asking like what's the need for a key in a map?
I know what they do. I
Oh.
just didn't know if there was like a more technical way that we were supposed to explain it. Like I know that they're needed
Yeah.
for React to be able to go through and display it information properly.
Yeah, it's used for re-rendering, I believe. So when you have to re-render a list, instead of having to re-render everything, it re-renders just the items that changed. And it also helps if I've had to do it with forms too, like where I had to map through a list of form items like inputs, and it helps with that as well. So. Can you show the list and the app as well?
Yeah, 1 sec, it's getting started. Oh. Maybe mine's being weird too on this. Okay, I got it. Sorry, my dog is panting really loudly. So there is the shopping list, and due to the excellent nav links that were made, we can get to it and then go back to the other sections of the app. Oh, did
Yeah,
I
we're not.
hear it?
No.
Yeah, we're not
Oh,
seeing
no.
the screen share.
I was like, yay, there it is. Oops. Okay, there we go. So this is just from the home page. And then when you go to the list, there is the list that was made by someone. And then the add item page. So the nav links work and the list is displayed properly, I think. So is that what everybody was wanting for it to do?
Looks great. Awesome. How do you guys feel you did this last week as far as collaborating and then asking questions?
Felt good. Thought it went smoothly on our end.
For a start, it's smooth sailing. Yeah.
I feel like we did a lot more getting to know you than coding, but it was a lot of fun. I believe the first issues are more about getting used to the process, so there wasn't a ton to do.
Yeah, I thought it went well. It was a good experience and it was quick for this first part.
Awesome. Well, Louis, should I go ahead and start presenting for the learning module?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hold on 1 second. Oh no, I might have to drop out of the call and come back in because my Zoom preference is updated.
Oh yeah, that's
Sorry.
fine.
Should we delete the branches that we make after, or do you want to just leave them all there as we go? If we're
It's not
using them.
necessary.
Okay.
I don't think we have the workflow in place to auto delete, but we can just leave them there.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back.
Hello.
All right, let me share my screen again. All right. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, cool. So we're going to be talking about code reviews today. What is a code review? What does the cycle look like? What makes a great code review? And how you can help others review your code and how you can review other people's code. And then finally, we'll be exploring code in GitHub. So what is a code review? It's a conversation about a set of changes. It is one of the best spaces to share knowledge and learn from others. Really, it's the best way to understand your context as far as what you're working on. And it's an open forum for you to be able to ask questions from your teammates and from your co-collaborators on how something works, or on the other side of things, if someone else has questions, you might have the knowledge to share with them. The code review cycle is you open a pull request, and we've all gone through this as part of the first set of PRs. You receive feedback from your peers, you make changes, and you receive any additional feedback that's needed. And then once everything is finalized, you merge the code. What makes a code review a great code review? This is a little bit opinionated, but I agree with a lot of these points. You don't want to focus on stylistic changes, like missing a semicolon or using tabs and spaces. This is a really important thing to note, because typically your work environment or your code base environment will have set stylistic opinions that you'll need to follow, and you'll be able to lint your code and just make sure that there's nothing out of place in that sense. You will want to try out anything you're coding locally or in a test environment. And then another thing that you will want to remember is, will you be able to understand this code a month from now? That's really important in terms of your knowledge overall of the code base. And will you be able to explain it to someone 2 months from now when you haven't looked at it in a while? The best way to write a code review is to talk about the good things. I always talk about a compliment sandwich when it comes to code reviews. You start out with the good comments, and then always default to approval. Be kind, add some notes for improvement, and then end with another compliment. You'll be able to help other people understand your changes, and take your time. You want to be thorough when you're trying to give your best advice to other people. You definitely want to run the code, try out the feature locally or in a test environment. I'm guilty of this. Sometimes I will run it locally for like a minute, and I always have to catch myself and not fast forward through things. You always want to be helpful when it comes to how is someone else going to run my code on their machine. Always include instructions on how to run the code. This will help you in a career setting because other people will definitely be testing your code, and you don't want to leave them, completely clueless as to how to do the thing that you're trying to do. If you're not sure how to do it, ask questions. It's always beneficial for you to ask questions among your peers and your mentors if you're not sure how to handle something. How can you help others review your code? Always add a meaningful PR description, and also have commit messages that are actually useful and meaningful. I'm guilty of this a lot, but you will learn things about like squashing your PRs, so you don't have commit messages that are just like linting. I'm guilty of that. Always self-review your code, explain why you did what you did, and ask questions. Ask questions of yourself and pretend that you're reading someone else's code. That will help you navigate your own code and give yourself a good self-review. Use screen capturing tools. There's a list here, and we'll be posting the link to the slideshow in the group chat. Exploring code in GitHub. As you can see, there's a lot of commits here, and it's properly labeled as OMG. That can be pretty daunting, but don't worry, you can get through each one. GitHub is really nice, has a really good interface as far as interacting with each commit. You can go through the commit changes and select one and read through them one by one. And then once you explore the code, you have to go through each file and review each change. Again, making note of any comments that you'd like to give to the person that you're reviewing their code. Sometimes there won't be any changes that you can comment on, like the package lock. That's usually just updating dependencies, but sometimes you may want to check those anyway. The biggest thing is going to be your source code files. If there's any changes in there may be meaningful comments that you might be able to leave, or if you have questions on how something works, that's the best place to ask those questions. And then share your thoughts if anyone has had any experience with code reviews. How did you feel? How do you feel this week? And comparing your previous experience outside of Collab Lab, how do you feel about presenting your code and reviewing your code among your peers?
I also wanted to ask, was last week anyone's first time making a pull request? Awesome.
I think that it went well with like just kind of talking with Alejandro about how the code went between the two of us, and then I think that this code going over everything has gone well because you guys have emphasized a couple times, like if anybody had any questions, we could ask questions and stuff, and so I think it's nice being able to get other people's feedback and see where we can improve or explain things better and stuff.
Awesome. And here's a few more links. It'll be part of the slideshow, so we'll share that.
Great, thanks for that, Grace.
Yeah, no problem.
So let me share the issues for this week, and then we can go through and assign them out. So let me share my screen. Okay. So for this week, the pairs will be Alejandro and Amanda, and then Amy and Aubrey. So for the first issue for this week, As a user, I want to set up a new shopping list so I can start tracking purchased items. Right now we have one shopping list in our app and it has those 5 items in it. We want to be able to create new ones, which in order to do that, we'll need to generate a unique token, save it to local storage, and then show the new list to the user when they create it. I believe a lot of the functionality has been completed, but what we'll need to do are these checks here. There's a package that you'll need to install. It's called Shopping List Utils. Inside of that package, I believe there's a method for generating a new token for the shopping list. There is, I believe on the home page, there's a placeholder text for my test list that has to be replaced with a list information. So if a user doesn't have a token, they go to the home page, they'll click a button, and they'll save the token to local storage. And then once the token's created, they get redirected to the list view. If there's a token already in local storage, they automatically get redirected to the list view. And as I mentioned, there's a method in this package called generate token, which will create the token for you, so you don't do any of that math. And then there is a set list token. That's what stores it in the local storage, I believe.
Is that a package that needs to get installed an NPM package?
Yeah, yes, you can just do npm install, and then you
Okay.
can find this. It's published locally. I mean, it's published publicly.
Got it. Yeah, I was just making sure where we get it from.
And then for issue number 4, as a user, I want to add a new item to my shopping list so I can start recording purchases. So for this one, we are going to create a small form. We're going to have an add item view, which will have a drop down for how soon you need the item, an input for the item that needs to be added, and then an enter button or an interaction so that someone can submit an item to the shopping list. Once they submit a form, they'll see a message that the item was added or not added to the database. I believe there's a console log in the add item function. In this file of the Firebase.js, this is what you need to update to actually add items to Firebase. So there's a little bit of overlap since one issue is going to be creating lists and the other issue is going to be adding items to lists. So there might be some room for cross-partner collaboration there. But both these will be interacting with Firebase. Does anyone have any questions on the issues?
Is number 4 going to require number 3 to be done first?
No, because there's already a default list, I believe, that's being displayed already. So you can still use that list to add stuff.
Okay, so it just needs to be built around knowing that it could be a different list than default.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Does anyone have any preference for which one to work on? Okay, how about Amy and Aubrey? Which one would you two like to work on?
I've never done anything with like tokens in a React app. So if Aubrey's cool with that one, we could do that one. Or if she does not want to work with me on something, it's fairly that's understandable.
I'm comfy either way. You're talking about doing like the local storage stuff?
Yeah.
Issue 3.
I have done a little bit with local and session storage. So
Okay.
yeah, if you want to do that one,
Yeah, I've done a
that's
tiny
fine with
bit
me. I think we can figure it out.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And just as a general question, like, is that something that we commonly will add into React apps? Like things like that, like local storage or session storage? Or does it just
Um,
depend on like what it's used for?
Yeah, it depends on the use case, I think. You can store things differently, such as like in cookies and local storage. Whenever I work with local storage, it's usually using a global state manager like Redux thing, because that automatically persists data through local storage. I haven't really worked too much directly with local storage in a specific app, but I guess it's just like use case specific.
Okay, thanks.
This means Alejandro and Amanda will do this one. It's the second one, right? Okay. Okay, let me just double check that the other issues were closed. Yeah, so we closed out those issues. The pull requests emerged. And then I want to quickly see something. So when each team merged the requests, I'm not sure if you noticed if when you do squash commits versus regular merge commits. So one example of a squash commit would be like this one here, where this one was Amy and Alejandro, they did a squash commit here. I believe this one is a non-squash commit, which is why it looks like they're separated commits. That's just something I noticed earlier. Either one can work.
Is there a preferable way to do it? And how do you do a squash commit versus a non-squash commit? Because whatever I did was what we had done in our internship. So is that like the right thing to do or not?
Oh, it doesn't matter. I was just showing that the difference. When you do a squash commit, it's easier to revert if there's a problem, because then you don't have to revert like three commits. I think if you do a regular commit, it keeps the history more linear. I can't show an example. I was trying to see if I can find a PR I could make, but there's a drop down when in that green button for merging is like an arrow. You can choose regular commit, squash, or rebase. For this project, it doesn't matter too much. For work, we only use squash commit because it's just much easier to revert problems.
So it's something that is done when it's being merged. It's not something that's doing while you're committing changes.
Correct. Yeah, it's done when it's being merged. Sorry, I can't show an example. I can't find it. But you'll see like a drop down, and you can pick. Before we close out, does anyone else have any other questions they want to go over? Sweet. Well, if you do,
Not a question, but
go ahead.
just a quick reminder, Devin is gonna be hosting office hours this week, so just keep an eye out for his doodle.
Awesome. So it looks like we're good to go then. So have fun with your issues. Feel free to message us on Slack. This one will be a little bit harder than last week. So we'll be available if you have trouble with anything. And hope it goes well. And we'll talk, and we'll set up this office hours also later this week.
Great, thank you.
Thanks,
See ya.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.